jumping into the meeting, you guys, since new moon is tomorrow, and 2 weeks ago when we talked about full moon, we sort of talked about things coming to fruition and that growth and what each area of our life might look like. So I'm doing the new moon energy stuff today. If you weren't here for the full moon thing, don't worry about it. I'll do it every 2 months, do another full moon one and a new moon. But because tomorrow is new moon in Taurus, I believe this is a really earthy beginning. So it's kind of cool because if you think about new moon and the symbology of it, it's going inside of yourself, or it's the seed being planted in the ground, which since this is the Taurus new moon, anything you do in nature or outside is going to feel that much more amplified for releasing, for reconnecting, for clearing out stuff in your life that you don't want anymore, giving it, sending it back out into the world, clearing stuff out, whether it's emotions, habits, physical items, relationships that you want to end. This is all the energy of the new moon. It's sort of a balance between letting go to make space for new to grow. So that's the best way to think about the new moon energy. You're letting go to make room for new stuff to grow. And again, that's whether it's a physical thing, emotional, mental, spiritual, this is the time that you want to focus on that energy. So I also wanted to address, because I'm not sure how many people are super sciencey like this nerd is here, but I absolutely love like space items and anything to do with the stars and planets. So the moon, of course, is like my entity. I love her. I have a very close connection to her. But a lot of people don't understand like why we only see one side, and that, we say something called the dark side of the moon. The moon does not have a dark side. It just has a side that we can never see from Earth's perspective. But in new moon, what's happening is that the sun and the moon are actually rising at the same time in the sky. It's why she's not out at night, because she's actually with the moon. And her cycle is 29 and a half days. The word moon and month have the same origin. So that's how long our months are, because that was originally how we tracked time, was by the moon cycles from new to new. So if you think about the energy where the dark side of the moon is actually being illuminated, that's the energy here. It's like you're looking inside yourself to figure out what you've got going on. Some would call it similar to shadow work, where you're really questioning, what doesn't serve me anymore? What can I get rid of? Or even what could I grow that I don't have yet? So it's the same thing with the clearing out and making space for something new. And I just think that the astrological story of it, the astrological story of what's physically happening out there in space is true to the energy within the new moon cycle. So was that pretty nerdy? A little nerdy? I love it.
Well, I was going to ask you a really dumb question the other day when I went out to walk tank early in the morning, and in the east sky, low in the east sky, because the sun was just coming up, there was a little sliver of moon. I was like, why is the moon there? Oh my. I'm like, I know, I was going to look it up, but now that explains it perfectly. Yes. They're together.
They're together. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this goes into, if you've seen the triple moon symbol, here's like, this is like a little dish, but the triple moon symbol is true to the maiden moon, which is the newer moon, is always this shape in our sky. So if you can figure out which way the horns are pointed, you'll know if you're looking at a new moon versus a crone moon, meaning the older stage of life. Jen, I totally agree with like, you're older now and who cares, and let all that go because you have the knowledge and now you're not worried about perception. Yeah. Trent, go ahead.
What, since we have two people from the UK, would that be reversed for?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's caused from our Earth rotation. So it's the same for everybody. The perspective is just different. So it would be like happening for them at a different time, but it would still be within the same cycle. So it would just be, they would get theirs before us. So they would get to see the moon and everything 6 to 7 hours before we do, but we're all within the same cycle always. Yeah. Good question. Thanks.
Is that who had their hand? Someone has their hand raised.
Oh,
is that you, Trent?
you is Kim.
Yeah,
Is that right?
that was my question too. That was actually my question.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're all within
I
that
have
same cycle.
Jamie.
Yes.
Jamie. A way to remember that someone taught me is the word doc, D-O-C, like Dr. Doc. And if the curve is in the shape of the D, that would be first, that would be the
new moon.
Waxing moon.
Yeah, growing.
The O would be the full moon. Then in the C, if the curve is in the shape of a C, then that's the waning moon.
Yeah,
Oh, that's clever.
Doc.
Great.
Doc. Yes, okay.
Hopefully that's helpful. I have never heard that. Thank you, Laura. I love that. I don't know. When I look at it, I always see the three ladies. I always see the maiden, the mother, and the crone for me. I don't know why. Okay. So does anybody have any questions about, I don't know how to get that to go away. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to get the hand going thing away. Okay, there we go. Got it. Any questions about that? Perfect. Okay. So when we talk about there's in every cycle of everything, it'd be hard not to find it, and I'm not even going to try to find an exception, but every single thing has the positive, the negative, the open, the closed, the dark, the light. There's this cycle within everything that goes on where the energy shift from whatever it is, positive or negative, to the next thing is always happening at a point. And full moon and new moon are those two things with our moon, where we're transitioning from a cycle is ending. And this is often called the dark moon. If anybody's heard it before, the dark moon meaning it's not there, but in that same 3-day transition is the new moon. So if you're looking at stuff for dark moon times, it's when the moon exists in the sky with the sun at the same time. That would be the dark moon. It means no moon whatsoever. So that's the time for releasing. So our moon phases when it's going through that new moon phase from ending at a crescent to building to the next crescent. We're actually going from releasing to growing. And the best way to think about it is like the releasing part and clearing the field out. 2 weeks ago when we talked about new moon and we looked at like the 12 different areas of life and what each of them would look like if it was a yard or a garden. This is where you have to make your space available. And this is not usually the time to work with other people. I guess that's the best way to say it. This is the alone time of the month. This is the time when you want to be by yourself. You want to question the things that you do or don't do, what you're comfortable with about yourself, what you're not. And you can look at 4 different areas. So trying to keep this on a much easier scale than 12, I just came up with 4 areas for you to look at with releasing and maybe some ideas. So, and if anybody has ideas, please feel free to share. But the very first one for me, I've said this many times, is that a witch's most powerful tool, really anybody, you don't have to be a witch to have this, but the most powerful tool we have is our mind, because that's where energy is transmitted from, radiated from, we pass it on to others. Like it's an energy thing within our mind. So mentally becoming aware of the thoughts that make you feel negative. This deals with confidence, whether or not you want to be out in front of people. Like me getting on this call for the very first time, I've told you guys the story maybe, but I knocked over my camera like 3 times. I was fumbling everywhere. I didn't actually know what I was going to talk about. I just sat here waiting for people to ask questions. Luckily, not a single person showed up to the first meeting, and I was like, okay. I had no idea how it was going to go if somebody did. But that was my first step to just like doing it, being okay, being uncomfortable first. And then every single time after that I did it, I don't get the butterflies anymore. It's not nervous. I'm not necessarily worried about anybody judging me, because I think even when we put ourselves out there, you're like, judgment of others is a real thing that's our brain. We're wired for that. It's not your fault, just so you know. We're wired for it to want to be included in a group setting. So that fear of judgment from other people is huge, which is, one of the reasons why I didn't tell a lot of people I was a witch for so long, because you don't want to be excluded. So it's becoming mentally aware of the things that don't make you feel good, and people possibly. So that can be the relationships that you're in too. If you have a friend that you're talking to and you don't really get a word in, but it's always like their problem, their situation, and they just kind of dump on you, that mental energy that you're taking on, you're absorbing that from them. Like, I would either tell them, hey, you got 5 minutes to bitch, and then after that, we need to do like a neutral conversation. Try to lessen it. You don't necessarily have to always cut people out, but you could put a healthy boundary with them and just say, when you talk about your problems for an hour, I walk away feeling exhausted. To take on all of that negative energy. Some phrases, if you guys listen to your thoughts, like whether you say them out loud or just to yourself, a lot of your I am thoughts, like I am so, I am whatever, like what follows that? And is it absolutely true? One of the things I can say about myself is I am a witch. I am a wife. I am a mother. Other than that, I call myself a nerd, but there's people who could out nerd me. There's things that we say about ourselves with our identity that be careful, because you might box yourself in too much and it'll make you feel negative eventually because you're judging yourself by putting that label on. Next is people who say like, my luck would be, and it's something negative. If you ever catch yourself saying, with my luck, it means you think the universe is like sending bad luck your way. So you're just going to be like, I don't need that phrase anymore. Anytime we're using the word hate, I caution people all the time. Like, hate is a very powerful word. I try not to say that I hate anything. I dislike stuff. You can put in other terms, but like hate, any of the negative speech that you use, that also breeds that inside of you. Always and never statements. It's always like this. I never get this. Always and never statements. And
I don't know why she's looking at me.
I think she understands. I'm waiting for a story. I know she'll have a story for this is my last saying for the mental one. If you ever find yourself going, fuck it, the possible like F it attitude, you've reached something that makes you feel bad or terrible. You're giving in for a reason, and that's usually because it's associated with something negative. Any F it statements that you want?
Yeah, fuck it. I'm gonna quit trying to lose weight because I'm always gonna be fat.
Negative.
So negative
statement.
negative statement and the always, never and always statement in there.
Yeah.
But no, I'm back at it again. Joined Weight Watchers last week, so I'm really positive, thinking this might have been a good time to do that.
Yeah, it is. It's perfect for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. I love it. So if that's your mental stuff that you can recognize, this moves right into the physical things that we do, our habits, the screen time, the sitting down a lot. Those aren't good for our mental aspects. Like, they don't do anything good for us. If you're learning something sitting down, awesome. If you're utilizing your brain in a way that is like you're growing, perfect. But if you're sitting down and scrolling through Instagram, or I'm trying to think of my sister because she's on her phone a lot. I've had to tell her, like, put your phone down when we talk. Otherwise, I'm going to walk away because I can't have a conversation with somebody who's distracted. She's only half listening to me. If that's even a thing, half listening or just not listening. Anyway. So physical actions, if you find something that you have that you do want to change, try to replace it with something that you would like to do better. My example is I love coffee. I drank a lot of it when I was in the Navy. I drink a lot of it now that I work from home because I just have access to all my favorite stuff. And at the end of the day, I will feel so sickly because I'm so loaded down with coffee. Like, just, the acid in it is not great for you. I don't have to tell people that. But I was like, I will switch to herbal tea. And that feels more witchy anyways. I should do that. I like herbal tea, but I don't ever think about it because I'm like, coffee, back to that pot, right? Making a second pot for myself. My doctor he'd be very offended. So instead what I do is I'm like, all right, I limit the coffee thing, and I have the tea kettle right next to my coffee pot so that I can do the switch. I'm like, oh, after 11 a.m., I'm a tea drinker only. So I tried to replace that habit. I still really want the hot, warm drink for me when I'm working. But now it's a healthier version. It's better for my body, I would guess. So it's changing out a habit that is bad for something that is going to benefit you more. And mine's just the coffee tea example. Taking a walk in your yard or walking through your house and looking at stuff you like. If you can if you work from home like I do, or if you work at a building or something, if there's an outside space, anytime you can get outside and breathe fresh air rather than reventilated air, that's always going to be better. I also put down chips because, of course, today I had chips with lunch, and I almost just grabbed the bag and came to my office, and I was like, no, I'll use a plate because then I won't just eat mindlessly out of the bag. So see the plate. So that's the changing physical things within your environment to make the habits healthier. That's the clearing the field of bad habits. Next is the emotional stuff. So I don't want to get too deep into this because I could go on to this for a long, long time because this is shadow work. But in emotional releasing, the very first thing that you can start with, which feels like the hardest thing, is to forgive the person who hurt you, no matter the hurt. If you just start with that, and you don't even have to believe it when you first say it, but you just start saying it. And over time, as you say it to yourself, that you don't need to hang on to the emotional pain. Like, I'm just going to let that go. I'm just going to forgive them because that doesn't hurt me. It doesn't say that it's okay what they did, but it just stops them from that attachment, right? That string that's attached to you while that emotional pain is still going on. So if you start with forgiveness, you can move through there's a lot to do with emotional pain, but I was just start there. So very small. Every time.
Right on time.
No, Venice High School has to call me every single time I have a meeting. What do you guys see when I get a phone call? Does it stop? Does my screen go blank when I get a phone
Your
call?
profile picture. It was like, like a little icon or something.
Yeah, so weird. All right, well, I'm glad it doesn't like black me out or something. Okay, so for the emotional releasing, just forgive. Just start with that. Lastly is spiritual. All right, here's something that we do to ourselves unintentionally, but that it sticks with us for a really, really long time. We give ourselves karma for things that we've done in the past, and we don't forgive ourselves. So in the emotional side, forgiving somebody else, but to elevate yourself spiritually, it's try to forgive yourself for the things that you've done in the past. It's not loving, like be kind to yourself, because if you can't forgive yourself for this old karma that you think you have, because I instantly thought of cheated on somebody, which is terrible, but like cheating, or you lied to somebody, or you stole something when you were a kid, or, I don't know. One time I had this preacher tell me that Jesus peed on a dog. I was like, that's a really weird thing to say, but it's like these things that people do when they're younger and you're just little, and maybe now you have an adult mind where you can deal with it, but to forgive yourself for saying, well, I was a bad person, or I was this, or, forgive yourself. So it's forgive others and forgive yourself to clear, to make way for things. All right. So if we have our releasing done, right, and we've cleared our field, and we've got this new fresh land of, fertile soil that's ready to plant something else in. Now you're going to go through the same 4 things, which is mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, to grow something. And this would be to look at your habits or stuff you want, your goals, and start plugging them into those categories of the mental first. If you got to get your mind right, it's always going to start with your mind. Physical actions, because they're easier to do. It's easier to do something than change your mind about it. The emotional side, which is now you have to start understanding why you want to do this. And then the spiritual side of it, which is I elevate myself when I do this. So for myself, meditation, of course, I'm huge on meditation, but affirmations for me change things. I will show you one real quick. There we go. All right. I'm sure I've talked to everybody about I want to manifest monies and things. So inside of one of my little paper packs, it has this little saying it is written in the stars. And then underneath of that, I wrote, I will be a millionaire, because that's what I want to manifest. Because I have issues about money and like scarcity mindset. And I was like, yeah, I need to stop that. It's just an energy exchange. And so this reminds me that it's possible for anybody if you have your mind right about it. Like that's for me. So affirmations, if you can find, and the internet is full of them, and Pinterest, and there's affirmations everywhere. There's websites dedicated to them to find the affirmations that are right for you. But you can get these little, what do you call them? Index cards. Get index cards and write your own. And it's just for you personally. Put them at your desk, put them in your wallet, in a card. And the more that you read them, this gets into changing your mind, changing your ideas. If you repeat something enough time, the new neural pathway in your brain makes a connection. It's one day you're like, oh, I actually believe that now. I've said it enough times where it's true. So that's what positive affirmation cards can do for you. Physical. This is tough because I try not to, promote anything, but I do have to say I really love my Apple Watch, and because I've had every other brand, I swear to you, and this is the only one that actually will remind me like, hey, you haven't stood up in the last hour. Hey, you haven't used as many calories as yesterday. And I've tried to program stuff in my phone. I've downloaded tons and tons of apps, but for me, nothing has worked better than my watch. And I like checking it. It's like a habit to, what time is it? Instead of my phone. Watches used to be such a big thing. When I was in high school, I had a Simba watch. Yes, a massive, huge Simba watch. It was just his face. And
Simba from
Simba, the Lion King. Yes.
We loved The Lion King. That was her favorite movie.
Until sports watches came
I
around.
don't remember that.
Yeah. I remember it perfectly. Well, until sports watches came around, we used our phones for 15 years or something. I couldn't wear my Simba watch in the Navy, so I had to retire it. That you can only wear like straight black, and all of them look like you're in house arrest. They're so massive that it's like those old G-Shock ones. Anyways, yep, off track, remember? Setting reminders. Now my wife thinks I'm talking to her. Because I said setting reminders. She's like, what do you want everybody? Okay. The whole story with the watch was about setting reminders to get up and move, or to have a habit that you can, there's something else. Because if we were really good at remembering what we're supposed to do, we would all be like super fit and beautiful and living in Hollywood or something. I don't know, whatever anybody's perfect life looks like. So we don't have that in our brains, and we have to use things within our environment. And thank God we live in this age, and we can have little phone dings and rings and buzzes that remind us to do stuff that's really good for us. So set reminders to get up and move physically. That was a long story for just that very short thing. The next thing might be hard and awkward, but again, if you do it over time, you'll start to believe it if you don't believe it already. You gotta tell yourself, I love me. Like they say do it in a mirror, but I feel like that's awkward. But you don't have to do it in a mirror. You can just tell yourself, I love me. I love who I am. And if that's uncomfortable for you, there's definitely some things that you want to look at and say, how could I love me more? What could I do for myself that then I would love me more? I would really love who I am. I am the image of the person that I would want to see and go, I want to be that person. So I always start with like, I have to love me first to be in any healthy relationships, to be able to get through life with any kind of confidence. You have to love yourself first. So just start saying it. I love me. I love me. Just so you know. And you're my mom, so that's a compliment to me, since I love me.
I love me. Why is my heart beating? Like, I'm having like heart palpitations
Oh, no.
saying about that. Like, uh-oh. No, thinking, because I never say, who says that to themselves? I never say that to
We're
myself.
not told to say, you're not taught that, right? That's not how you build confidence. It's like, if other people like you and approve of you, you get confidence.
Right.
It's not really been about whether or not we like or love ourselves. It's like, if you get outside approval, then that feels good. And we're kind of raised that way.
You said that in the beginning about we all want to belong in the judgment. And, it's just wired into us.
It is.
So
it's in our brain. You can look it up on psychology.com. Promise there. It's not your fault. But so getting out of it, right? So unwiring that and getting us a different neural connection is why we say these things first, and you'll feel it later. Because you really can. At the very end of this meeting, we're going to talk about belief and how strong belief is. But like, if you tell yourself something all the time, eventually you will believe it. It's how delusional people think delusional thoughts, because they've told themselves that lie so many times, it's real to them. And it doesn't matter what anybody else says or does. That's their perception. That's their reality. So you can lie to yourself to it first and then believe it later. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's for a good reason. So it's a trick of the mind so that you can hear yourself say it and then you'll start to believe it. And the last one, of course, is spiritual. And this is going to be different for everybody. For growing something spiritual for yourself, my path has taken so many turns, but of course, doing this here, I am so much more serious about my spirituality now that I'm trying to help people with theirs. So I think the helping and the teaching has helped. But my favorite is tarot cards and reading people's palms and having all my crystals around. Like every time I'm around that or candles lit, I'm like in my space. Like, no, don't talk to me. No, I'm in my space. I like where I'm at right here. And you like have an imaginary door that I walk out of sometimes, walk in and walk out, and that's your space. So whatever you can do to create that feeling where you're around the things that make you feel connected to the higher power, whether it's sitting out underneath the moon. I do that a lot. I love like anything with the stars, of course, but then being around family and people who think the same as me, again, knowing that I'm not alone, that this is all, that there are a ton of people who also want to feel that same way and connect to something that's ancient and powerful. And it has the history with the earth. It's not just eyewitness accounts. That's the best way to say it. Spiritual stuff. So plant something to grow spiritually. Okay. I want to give you guys quick examples of releasing and changing. And this would just be like a small ritual that you could do one after the other, or just one if you want to. But this is how simple it can be to perform. If it's going to be your first ritual, or it's, something that you're just interested in trying out, you're not going to hurt anybody or do anything damned. Don't be afraid.
I'm a hand raised.
Oh, hand up. Yes, Kat.
Thank you for calling on me, Jamie.
Yeah.
So you're saying ritual. Is that the same thing as a spell?
Yes and no. Okay, so with ritual versus spell, a ritual is just going to mean things that are done more in order. A spell is usually something that you're trying to manifest with intent and using items that go with that, and it's a little more focused. With ritual, it's a little bit less intense because you're not trying to push a change necessarily out into the world. You're not trying to manifest something, but you're walking through an order of something. So how well did I explain that?
Okay, so ritual is not the same thing as a spell.
They can be, though, because you can call it a ritual, and in the end, it's the same motions as a spell. I mean,
if you do a spell over and over again, it's a ritual.
Yeah, right. So ritual would mean like
maybe you're doing it wrong if you do it over and over again.
It would be more ceremonial, or like you're following through with the steps. Even though a spell, you do follow steps, but a spell is like I almost want to use the word conjuring, but manifesting. You're manifesting a thing or a change, and you're bringing energy into something, right? So like charm bags. I mean, charming is the same. If you want to charm something, when we tell when we tell our stones, when we program stones, which is the correct word, you give a stone a job, you assign it something, that's like a spell or a ritual. Yeah, the words, I say ritual because it's not a spell. I don't know. I think probably I should get better clarification on why I use the different ones. If I've confused anybody, I'm there too right now. I feel like I wasn't prepared actually for that, maybe.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay.
I had no idea.
Does anybody else want to give their idea of a difference between a spell, what they think a spell might mean, versus just a ritual? Yeah, Laura?
I would say, if I can, I do my spells in a ritual way. There are certain rituals I perform in order before I begin a spell, and then when I end a spell. So, if I cast a circle or call on the elements, whatever, those are the rituals that I do before I would do my spell work.
Right. So, yes.
Okay. That's what it means to me.
So I guess the spell part is the centered work after you've done, if you want to start with a ritual where you I don't know, call the corners, which I don't do that, but that is an option for people to call corners or set a circle or a boundary, or, I protect myself with a white ball of light. I do that. That's just something I do before I start any spell work. But
so last week we did tarot. We did a reading for Joe at my house.
Oh,
She did
yes.
cards.
Mhm.
And so the ritual, and I'm just going to explain it so that I understand it.
Yeah.
The ritual was I brought out the
yeah.
candles. I brought out some crystals.
Yeah.
And we did like sage. We did sage.
Yeah.
We lit candles, and then we had selenite there for a stone. And so we did all of that before the deck, before we started shuffling, or Jamie, I think you were shuffling, or Joe was shuffling.
Yeah, she shuffled the night.
So
Yeah,
Joe
the
was
night
shuffling.
out.
Yeah, and then she dealt. So
that would be it. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. The ritual stuff beforehand that you do to start your work, and then your work is what's done with inside that bubble. And then, ending a ritual is whether or not you just say it's closed, I'm ending this, I blow out the candle. Like, it's the reason that we love witchcraft is because you can't really do it wrong unless you're trying to do something bad. So everybody's ritual can be whatever it is, as long as it feels good to them. Again, as long as your mind is there when you're doing it, and your energy, you're trying to raise that vibration, you're not doing it wrong. And everybody should be a little bit different. I would be concerned if it was if everybody was trying to do the exact same thing, because it wouldn't feel natural to us, right? I mean, I don't ever tell my mom or sister how to do a spell. I give them suggestions. I look for suggestions sometimes, but other than that, I do it the way that I feel. I do, like, the way I'm feeling in that moment. That's right. Thank you. Okay, I think that better. Yes, I feel better now. Thank you, Laura.
I understand it better now myself.
Yeah.
So thank you, Laura.
So I call this a ritual because it wouldn't be like spell work. This would be something you could walk out. For me, I walk out into my driveway because I have a mostly secluded yard where I can be under the night sky and nobody will bother me. So first you would do something for releasing. If any of those things that we went through between the mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual, if you found something that you want to release, you're just going to speak it, or you can write it on a card. I do this for the symbology of it. Like, anything with fire is transformational. So trying to release something means I'm trying to transform a part of myself into, taking something out, switching that energy somewhere else. So I burn my little card, and that's what I imagine. Like, what I wrote on mine is release anxiety from things that I can't control. And at first I put my kids' choices, and then I just put other people's choices. Like, I don't want to stress myself out about what other people are choosing to do with their life, because I cannot control that. I'm only in control of my own actions. But because I'm a helper and I want to fix people, I find relationships where it's like, oh, you need help. I had to let that go. So that was a big part of me, because it caused anxiety and all kinds of other stuff. So other people's choices I can't control, so I want to let that go. Rude drivers in Florida being cut off all the effing time, I just gotta let that go. Like, just don't hang on to that. And then rising gas prices. So not only do I gotta deal with jerks, I'm like, our gas keeps going up. I'm like, can't control that. Let that go. Don't be mad about it. Just go to the pump, fill it up, and don't even you can't control what it looks like. So don't get mad and when you feed into that, it just, you hold on to the negative. It's like, well, there you go. I gotta drive and I need gas. That's it. So with those statements or those things, that's what I would be concentrating on while I, go out and I'm like, I want to release this. I want to get rid of it, send the energy back out into the universe. If I wasn't inside my house, I would light this on fire, but just symbolically, okay, it went on fire. It's done. And so now you can do it in a bowl and take the ashes and put them somewhere. I have a spot in my yard where I discard my spells when they're over, to send the energy of the spell back into nature, to dispel. And that is it. It can be as complicated or as simple as you want it to be, but it's about where your mind is at when you're doing it. If you really want to let something go, people, relationships, I don't want to say addictions, that sounds bad, but bad habits that you don't like, and you can do this every full moon and keep trying to let it go and, work something else in there. So that would be for a release. This would be a way to do that. And then for the new moon changes or growth part of it, and you can transition from one right into the other because there's no rules. I can control, this goes in with the other one, but I can control my own actions to create positive habits. Like that is something I have 100% control over, is thinking about, I can control my own actions to create healthier habits, or positive habits is what I wrote. So of course I put fitness motivation. Who doesn't want more of that? Yes. And focusing at work. Since I work from home, I get distracted a lot by everything, my cats, my garden, I don't know, just shiny stuff. And then planning dinners. I'm really terrible at planning dinners. I don't know. I'm just like, I'm a snacker. I just snack. I don't want to eat a full meal, but my husband's old school and he's like, dinner? Like there's a lot of stuff in the cupboard. I don't know. What do you think? Open a can of something? So it's,
Poor Tony.
I know.
Starving to death.
And he's a way better cook than me. He's a way better cook. So I know I need to get better. My sister brought over potato salad, which I don't eat. I don't like anything mayonnaise-y. And he got into the container today and is eating. And I was like, you're just eating potato salad? He said, well, you don't make it, so I got to eat it while it's here. I was like, oh, okay, that's for me. I definitely am not going to make it either. I don't like it. So with the changing one, it's the same thing where you'll go out, do whatever ritual you want with it, candles, you can sit there, think about the change that you really want to create. And then with this, you can put it in a pot, like a planted pot. You can put it under something, anything that's going to grow. So I have a really big garden out there, and because it's all biodegradable, of course, this is just paper, I would slip it under something that I would want to flourish. And you can rip it up and put it inside of a potted plant like compost, as long as it's not one that needs to stay pretty dry, like don't do cactus or succulents, but other potted plants, the paper won't hurt it. But yeah, so I would put this outside under a plant, and then I would know every time I look at that plant, I'm like, there's my good change I'm trying to grow right there. So use the symbology of it, of the growth part, in whatever way you want to. You can also keep it out and just look at it all the time to remind yourself, one of the patterns of like repeating things to yourself. Okay. The last thing that when you look anything up on like Pinterest or the internet, they're always going to tell you new moon is all about cleansing and cleansing baths and taking really pretty pictures with flowers all over you and things like that. That's all awesome if you want to do that, the bath part of it. It is a cleansing time for the letting go purpose, but it's also for your tools. So if you have anything like your altar stuff, or if you want to put anything away, stuff from spells that you used, if you have like candle wax from a spell, you can bury it. That's cleansing is always like putting things in dirt, as long as it's not going to be harmful for the earth. Letting stuff go in water is another way, as long as it's biodegradable. But this would be a time where if you have old spell stuff and you're kind of done with that, return the things to the earth that need to be. You can set your crystals out to be cleansed, and that would be the time for it. All right, what questions do we have on that? Because next up is like the power of belief, and I have a crazy story for you guys that's going to be like oohs and ahs because it's out there. Okay, you guys will not believe what happened to my sister today. This is crazy. And I've been around Christianity before. I've talked to a lot of pastors and preachers. I was really trying to believe when I was younger. I was trying to figure out how to like get right with Christianity because everybody believed it. I was like, I just need more answers. So last year, my sister briefly saw a guy who's pretty Christian, and the thing that she wanted is that they could have really deep conversations about spirituality, because for him, Christianity was spiritual. And, for her, she's a witch. This is spiritual for her. And it's do no harm stuff, right? So they're both like, they had these things in common, but he always told her that hers was wrong. No, you can't do that. It's demonic. Like the devil made your religion, basically. Like you can't see it as religion. So of course that would mean they're upset, they fight, whatever. So this lasted like 2 weeks. Fast forward to today, he comes back around to her house and he asks her to take the curse off of him because everything's been going wrong in his life. And she just told him, she was like, luckily her fiance was there at the house. So there was nothing like she had other people there with her, but she was like, get off my property. Don't ever come back here again. because he has said some really awful things to her, obviously, because she's a witch, and that, you know, he thinks that she's going to, I don't know, burn in hell forever or something. Like, so he would say these really cruel, crazy, crazy things. Even on Christmas, he sent her a Christmas text that was the same sort of like malicious, bad stuff. Anyways, so today when she makes him leave her property, she calls the cops because she's afraid, because you don't expect somebody who doesn't believe in witchcraft to come back and tell you that they believe you cursed them and everything in their life is going bad. So when the cops get there and they're talking to her, she's like, I'd really like to do a restraining order or something. They're like, we can't do that because no laws have been broken. And his walkie starts going off a lot. And he told her, he said, he's down at the sheriff's office right now making a report against you. She's like, for what? Like, what? He told the sheriffs that my sister put a curse on him and he's possessed with demons now. And it's her fault. And that he wants them to do something about it. I'm like, this can't be serious because that's delusional. I don't know. So it was when I got to talking to a friend of mine who was also raised very Christian, and she's from the Bible Belt in South Carolina. And she said, Jamie, no, listen, there are really people out there who think that it's very possible for somebody to be possessed with demons, for like a witch to really put a curse on somebody that could destroy their life. That's real news.
So now we're all worried about her safety.
We're worried about
that guy.
He's crazy.
You know.
But that's,
I
guess what it is like, as much as I believe that I can do a spell and change stuff and manifest things for myself, but because it's all positive, it doesn't scare me. Him believing that he could be possessed by a demon and that somebody could curse him to do that, and he blames it on her being a witch, like her practicing witchcraft, which is nothing dangerous or evil or weird. It's just like, it's all positivity and light and love each other and treat people with kindness, right? The power of belief for him is sending him into this spiral, whereas the power of belief for us, we're trying to like elevate positive energy and inspire people to live better and treat each other better. I mean, it was just really hard to hear today that that's still out there, because I don't run into it. I don't, if somebody is a super hard Christian, I'm just like, oh, that's wonderful. Great. All right. I just don't talk about my stuff. I don't want to subject myself to it, but obviously she did. And this guy now this is 7 months later that, he's kind of scary. It scared me. I don't know. So the floor is open for anybody you guys do not have to talk about this situation that just happened today with my sister, but any questions, the floor is definitely open. The power of belief. That was what the whole thing was about. Yeah. Is everybody in shock like I was? Like,
I was just gonna say that to me, like going down to the police station, actually.
Yeah.
He sounds like a form of like a mental break in his faculties to actually go down to the police station. So I think there's like a mental health issue going on with that person.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
Yes.
Well, there's a dangerous thing going on there, because he actually believes this enough to do that. So what's the next, what length will he go to try to exercise that? And, it's scary, really. So
it's scary more than anything. It's shocking to me, but it's just also very scary. I hear somebody else trying to chime in. I'm going to be quiet now. Somebody was talking. Okay. So with that, this goes full circle back to everything is like positive, negative, good, bad, whatever you have. Like there's always that balance of the yin and yang of everything, the cycle that follows through. And this is just an example of somebody who has fed off of all his negativity in his life, and he's looking to blame somebody else for it instead of taking responsibility for himself or looking at what could he do to change it. He's been quick to turn around and say it must be her because of whatever. But it's that you can't have one without the other, unfortunately. If it was all sunshine and rainbow here, we wouldn't need the human experience to learn what we have to learn.
Another thing about that situation is, I think that's why, you didn't tell people that you were a witch. You kept that to yourself for so many years, because we're still dealing with this stigma, if you will, or society's, has been, I'm going to say brainwashed, but that's not really true. We've just been
misinformed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole witchcraft and what witches are. The word witch in and of itself is loaded.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
As a new witch, it's a little bit nerve wracking. I don't just tell people. I definitely don't tell them. If it comes up, I might, but I did put a pentagram on my house. So I guess I sort of broadcasted it to the neighbors if they happen to look up and see that pentagram up there. And I'm like, maybe that was like putting an X on my back. I don't know. But I mean, I haven't had a problem. And, but the pentagram, what do people think the pentagram is? They automatically think the devil, right? And that's not what it is. So there's just a lot of misinformation. It's really great to see that witchcraft is the fastest growing religion. And I don't know if it's the world, or I can't remember where I read this. Have you read anything about how fast witchcraft and then Wicca is growing?
Not yet.
I believe that people are becoming disillusioned with some of the things that are going on in other faiths where there's so much dogma. And if you don't do this, I grew up believing that if I didn't do these certain things, I was going to hell. Well, who the hell wants to believe that? I read and reread. I scared myself to death when I was a teenager reading Revelations over and over again. I was just convinced that, oh my God, I can never live up to that standard. So it was one of the reasons why I did not raise my children with religion, because anyway, I'm going off on a different subject.
But you're right. That's what it is. That's why I started this, right? Because there were two things happening when I started meeting people who really wanted to know more about my craft. Number one, they don't have people that they can meet and ask. So that's really rare to find a person who practices witchcraft, or even a Wiccan, because I don't actually know any people who follow Wicca, which is a religious form of witchcraft. But I haven't even met one of those people. I've not met an individual who practices that yet. I meet a lot of solitary witches or people who dabble, and they're always kind of like, how much do I tell them? How weird are they going to think I am? And so I always offer up a lot more information first if I'm in that situation, just to make them feel comfortable. So I started this meetup for that purpose, because I thought, how many people are interested but have no resources? Like, as a person resource, not a book resource, because then that's the other problem. The amount of information that's out there, holy crap, whatever you want to believe, you could find a person who wrote about it and said that it has to be that way, or do it only this. And so then it makes it really complicated on, I'd like to choose a path, I'd like to do something, but what library do I got to read first before I even start? So it was both those things, with just trying to figure out my own path. So what I always tell everybody is, your path should look like nobody else's. And if it doesn't, then you're doing a good job, because you should be practicing exactly how you want to, with the things that mean something to you. And that's it. And
the only rule,
do no harm.
That's it.
Do no harm. That's it. As long as your intentions are good and you're trying to bring about a change that's positive. And I don't think you can go wrong there. So yes, that's tonight. that pretty much is tonight's meeting, because my mind was blown with my sister's stuff today. So as this is the New Witches Q&A, if anybody wanted to ask any questions, or if people are ready to sign off, because it's 7:03, I'm here. I'm going to stay on for a little bit. And yeah, thanks everybody. Thank you for showing up tonight. Bye, James. See ya.
Bye.
So, and I can see that there's like 15 comments, but I can't actually read them while I have my camera on. I'm sorry. Has somebody read the comments, or is there anything that, let me see if I can get to it. I don't know what will happen, but no, I don't even know how to, it doesn't let me do it while I'm on. So sorry. You want me to look them up? You can try.
I found a little thing on the difference between spells and rituals. Of course,
okay. Yeah.
Everyone has, their own opinion, but this is a good one.
Yeah.
Spells are powered by intention and done to bring about a specific outcome.
Yeah.
Asking for something you want, sort of like a prayer.
Manifesting, right.
Less formal structure and done when there is a need.
Yeah.
Rituals are also powered by intention. They may contain a spell, but they don't have to, and they're often done for celebratory purpose, and they tend to have more structured plan to make easier to repeat. So basically, I guess the spell is like, usually there's a want or a need for something.
Yeah,
That's the only difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Trent. That
Thank
was
you, Trent.
extremely
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
feel like I was sort of on point with what I was saying then. Yeah. Or what Laura was offering up a very good. Yeah. You can have a ritual with a spell inside of it, but the ritual part of it is just going through the motions of something for symbology. That's what I guess that's what I think of as a ritual. It's like you're doing something symbolically, going through the actions of something. So mentally imagining that I'm letting something go. It's not really a spell.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was perfect. Thank you.
There are spells for letting go, though.
There are.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are actually spells.
Let's sign off. You guys have a wonderful evening. I will see
Bye,
you
hon. See you
Monday.
next time.
Bye, Trent. See
Bye.
ya. Maggie, I noticed you came on late. It was
I did.
I stopped admitting people about 6:30. So I guess I should put that in the thing that if it's after a certain time, I'm probably just not gonna hit admit. There was only one person, I don't know who it was, but welcome. We did like the introduction thing tonight. Sorry you missed it, but this was
I'm
just
sorry.
no, that's okay. Listen, and I'm always open for suggestions for new times. We've brought this up in the past. I've even thought about doing a second meeting so that if people can't make a Monday at 6 o'clock, definitely people in the UK, that's even though somebody was eating dinner that late, I mean, that's pretty late for them to be up too. And we have quite a few members
Maybe
from the
that's
UK.
normal time to eat dinner in the UK. We don't know.
I wouldn't say I'm not going to say more.
Depends on when you get off work.
Oh yeah, like the work time too.
Yeah.
So are there any questions for people practicing or something that you'd like to try? Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
I have a question. And first of all, I want to say, Maggie, I love your cat. I saw the cat come over and I got so excited.
Thank you. That's Abe.
Beautiful, beautiful cat.
Thank you.
My question is, you said something that the Wicca being a religious form of witchcraft.
Yes.
I thought it was kind of one and the same. And can you like explain a little bit? Because I'm not really, and maybe even bring in like paganism in there, which I know is more of a worshiping of certain deities, but I'm curious about that.
Sure. I love this question because I had to figure it all out for myself earlier also. So Wicca is actually a recognized religion. So they have the classification of an organized religion. And for them, it's because they have structured roles. So when you enter, you usually have to get permission. You can come in as a guest, but you have to get permission to join the coven. And if you do get to join the coven, you have to go through something called a year and a day. And they usually start it at in bulk, which is around February 2nd. They bring on new members and they allow you to try it out for a little while. And then if the coven accepts you and you accept them, you make a pact to spend a year and a day with them. Inside of a coven, there's a lot of secrecy. They don't want to share with outsiders. You have to go through, they have levels of what you are, and I don't know their names. Some of them are the same, but a lot of covens make up their own names for it. Like a high priestess is pretty common, but you start out with like, Jessica told us one that was
disciple.
No. It was the same names as what an embryo goes through during birth. It was like a zygote and a something. I was like, what? So a girl that used to come on here who decided she wanted to get into Wicca, she learned that her stages were going to be called, and each year she'd have to be in 4 years before she could get into like a leadership role. So you come in, you learn all these things, you go through the rituals, the 8 holidays, the wheel of the year, and then this just repeats. And so you get better and better at it. Of the Wiccans that I've met, I met a coven inside Salem 2 years ago. I went up there for Halloween and they had an open door event. So that was kind of cool because I was like, wow, they're opening themselves up to the public. You had to pay a pretty penny to get in there. It's like $150 a ticket, but all right, let's go in and see what it's about. And we tried to talk to one of the girls alone, and she said, I can't talk to you. Like, I can't tell you anything. We're like, wow, why? She said, oh no, if they see me talking to you privately, like it's not going to be good for me. So, you know, it was
Wow, it's like
That sounds
Mormons.
like a cult.
Sounds like the
like a
evangelical
cult.
church.
Yeah, it was
Like
different.
Jim Jones cult.
Well, you know, they performed a ceremony in front of us, which was called like Awakening. I think it was Awakening Spirit or something like that. But they did it in a way, they were all very uniformed. It was like seeing a play, and it was beautiful sort of to watch, and they had great costumes and everything. But then the fact that they couldn't speak openly about anything, I was like, oh, all right, that's not so cool anymore. I was like, I feel bad for you, actually. So are you stuck? Like, if you leave, is it like the mafia? They're going to come after you? Like, what happens then?
You're shunned.
Witch sect.
I mean, yeah, witches.
Witch sect.
Witch sect, you know, witness protection program for witches that leave covens. I don't know. So she was super lovely, but you know, she told us that they couldn't have social media, they couldn't have private social medias, they couldn't put anything from there on the social media stuff. So because of the closed offness for that specific coven, I mean, if I wasn't turned off before, I definitely was now. I was like, I'll be damned if somebody tells me what I'm going to do, and when I'm good enough to learn something. So they keep knowledge just like the church does. They keep knowledge from you until you get to a place. And then they're like, we trust you with this knowledge now. And I'm like, what? I want to share all the knowledge all the time, everywhere. So
Yeah, it sounds like they're modeling it after a church, after a Christian church.
It is.
You know.
And
Sounds like
Yeah.
Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah.
Well, and interestingly enough, the government who recognizes it now is the military does. The United
The military
States
does, yeah.
recognizes. So we're okay with cult mentality.
You can't say cult if they're not cult, Mom, they're religion.
Okay, I didn't say cult. I said cult mentality.
Cult mentality.
Cult behavior.
I mean, the military.
That's cult-like behavior. Come on, it's all secretive and stuff. What are they doing?
It was one coven. What I think they're worried about, which is the same thing that we've talked about, is I think that they're worried about something getting out and getting like, what do you call it? Backlash or like repercussions from somebody leaking something that doesn't seem right, or I don't know. So if you have to worry about something like that, you're already wrong. If you're worried about something getting out from your coven, like what I don't know. So just the implications of the secrecy and that they can't be friends with people out, you know, like she couldn't talk to us and all this other crap. I was like, wow. It's an organized religion and every coven is different. This was just one coven and it was a coven in Salem. And so maybe they're even extra super crazy secretive because they're afraid of what people might do to them. I don't know. The other people that I've met who want to be Wiccan, who are going that path, they like the structure of it, which I have a lot of things that are all resourced as Wiccan. So the Wheel of the Year, which was created by Gerald Gardner, he's the one that put all that research into looking into the different pagan holidays. So this would be the pagan side of all the countries throughout, you know, all the way down into the Fertile Crescent, going all the way down and all the way back up. And anybody who practiced the ceremonies of the seasons, that's all it was. You're transitioning between seasons and you're marking, some of them are astrological days. Some of them are, they're the in-between days, like Beltane was May 1st. That's a sort of in-between holiday. It marks the in-between from equinox to solstice. There we go. It's the spring equinox to the summer solstice. So then, because pagans like to party and drink and have as much fun as we possibly can, every 6 weeks there's a holiday to celebrate something. And that's what Beltane is. So with the 8 holidays, that really does come from Wicca, but it is not restricted to them. So the best way to think about it is all Wiccans are witches, but not all witches are Wiccans. And then when you're pagan, you even give yourself a label. That's what I used to always call myself because it's an earth religion. So really, as a pagan, you're celebrating all the things that are going on the earth. So when springtime comes, when babies are born, when food is in bounty for gardens, you know, what the crops are, what the tides are doing, what the moon cycle's doing. I mean, the Farmer's Almanac to this day still tells you to plant by the moon because they know that the moon's water, or the moon pulls on water, and that if you're planting during a time when the moon is pulling water away from the earth, that means the roots, the water is going up into the plant rather than it needs to be going down into the roots to help it stabilize. So, I mean, you can't, it's not just belief and fun and fairy tale stuff. There's a lot of science behind why there's the celebration and why what these things mean. There's a lot of evidence behind that. So that's probably my unique take on it, is I always add a lot of the science and psychology to being a witch because it makes sense. Meditation and manifesting are real. Those are real things that can happen. Psychic abilities are real. I mean, so I went through pagan, Wiccan, and witch. What question do you have, Jen?
That's very, very helpful, actually. That's about it. I mean, usually I tell people, oh, I have like an earth-based spirituality. And that's like, I just let it go at that because it makes sense and it's kind of nebulous. So yeah, but that's very clear. I was wondering about that.
There you go, honey.
Okay, love you, Mom.
I'm leaving. Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye, Kat.
I gotta say, one of the last things that a couple years ago, I swear it's with the invention of Pinterest, trying to figure out what kind of witch you are became this like really big fad of like, ooh, what type of witch are you? I was like, again, here we go with the labels and feeling like a label is going to help you identify who you are. And it just confuses people because maybe you're a little bit of kitchen witch and green witch and eclectic and whatever. And you're like, well, now what do I do? I've got way too many options, you know? Before I was like, I'm just a witch and here's things I like. So I guess the part that's good is when I do say I'm a green witch, it stands true because like I garden my butt off and plants are everywhere around me. And I just like, I love the earth so much. So that's helpful, but not everything I do is green witch stuff. You know, I can't even devote that much time to becoming so specific. So I don't know. But if you can decide whether or not you're a witch or you want to be Wiccan, that's a path, because Wiccan, to become a Wiccan, is something that you have to be accepted as. That doesn't mean that you can't practice the Wiccan ways. You absolutely can. You could be a solitary Wiccan all the way. There's a lot of things within the resources that you'll see that are not geared towards solitary things. So if you figure that part out for yourself and you're totally fine with it, you don't need a coven that makes you feel away. And just like churches, you can start your own charter and you can build your own coven if you want to. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool that it's within somebody else's grasp to start a coven that is not secret, that is not full of withholding knowledge. But if you want to be associated with another coven, so I guess they do it just like churches, where it's like a extension of it or a branch of it. I forget what they call it. Gosh, does anybody
like an offshoot, like a
parish?
It's a parish. It's of them, because you can, if you go out there and search different Wiccan covens, they'll say we have, man, I'm thinking of things like bicycle people that have charters. That's the word, right? Charters. You're a charter of a bigger coven organization. So with that, you're going to get a rule book. They're going to hand you the rule book and go, this is how we do this. This is what we say. These are the deities that we use in our rituals. They're going to distinguish all of that for you. It's not going to be a choice, which that's where I go, nope, okay, don't like it. Our motto and our whole family, everybody says it, I do what I want. I got to do what I want. Don't box me in. Don't try to make me a copy of you. Like, being in the military was totally fine because I got to be who I wanted to be after 4:00. But, so I can do the organized thing. I'm really good at following orders and playing as a team member. But the moment you're like, you need to be this person 100%, you can't be anybody else, it's like, ooh, no. This sounds like a bad controlling relationship that I don't want to deal with. So, yeah. Thanks for asking the question, Jen. It's definitely, I haven't explained that in a long time, I guess.
Yeah, no, thank you for answering it. And
Sure.
This is great. I actually have to go, but I wanted to say thank you so much. This is lovely.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
We meet
And
every
great to
Monday
see
at 6
everybody. It's actually a really good time for me,
Oh,
so yeah.
Well, I hope
Great. Thank you,
you're able to use some of
everybody.
this stuff. Yeah.
No, I'm going to definitely use it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thank
Well, bye,
you.
Jen.
Bye, Jen.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
I guess I'll sign off. I think it's just Maggie and Sarah and I. Yeah.
Hanging on to the last second. Just real quick, Jamie. Thank you for bringing up about the whole church quandary. It's taken me a moment to find my voice with that, because I've come out of the evangelical Pentecostal movement, and I was up there.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm not up there anymore is because I had so many questions and I challenged authority. And so, they don't want that.
They don't like it. No.
They don't like that. And when I began to compare, like, I've got to be someplace where I can actually be a little bit more free. I can let my ideas flow. I mean, women are just not honored in the way, it's a male machismo run,
Absolutely.
hierarchy.
Yes.
They don't let women step up to be pastors and that type of thing. Or if they do that, it's like it's rigorous and, you've got to prove yourself type of thing. So when I came out of that, and it was probably 20 years in that, and that's my quandary now, is because I know that I'm actually on the right path.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. But now I'm dealing with just, I'm very silent. I'm very solitary, very silent, but I know that I'm in the right mode, but I'm dealing with now this possible backlash from an entire, Facebook and just world out there that I've known in the church, because they do teach immediately witchcraft it's demonic, it's of the devil, it's not of God. And the more I begin to study, it's like, if anything, this is more closer to what the divine, wants for humanity. And there is this religious dogma, this stigma on witchcraft that it's absolutely diabolical. And so I do feel like part of my path is to, be that voice. Yeah.
I love it. I love that you're saying that.
I know.
Be that voice. Save others like you saved yourself.
There are so many people I run into, and they are there. They are just like, I've left the church, Maggie, and I know that there's something else, and I can't quite come out and be like, I don't want it to be me. Yeah. But I want to be used in a way that, the divine opens up these doors where people can know that there's a safe place, that you can practice the fullness of all of this goodness, and not be tied down to boundaries and shackles. I really think that the church, as we know it, the evangelical church, I call it because it's a big umbrella. They are so misguided. They've got it wrong. And I know why they got it wrong, because it started from some guy, breaking away and saying, we're not doing this anymore. I mean, and when I begin to study, Jamie, and maybe you can confirm this, is that witchcraft is actually the basis of where Christianity and Catholicism has come out of.
So it's interesting that you say that, because if you've ever looked into the history books of like secret teachings of Jesus stuff, because I've read all of that, because I didn't think that Jesus wasn't real. And I still don't think that. I still think that Jesus was a way to connect. But the things that he said and the stuff that the church won't release, I'm like, there's the secrecy thing again. You want to keep people dumbed down because they're easier to control when they don't have the knowledge to break free. So that was an easy choice for me. But in stuff that has been leaked or been released, and the scrolls that they won't acknowledge are from Jesus's time, just things like that. You're like, definitely, with as many versions of the Bible that have been changed. And if you go back and you start looking at how they changed it, why they changed it. Did you know that in 680 AD, they took reincarnation out of the Bible? That was in the Bible originally. They took it out because they were like, no, we don't want people to think they get a second chance. No, we're this part one time only. And there are a lot of people who know that, and yet it's not really respected as knowledge. You have the historical aspect of Jesus and everything that happened. And what I think is he was probably more like a pagan or a witch with the healing powers or the sight, a psychic of some kind. And he was trying to get people to see, and he was really willing to die for that.
Yes.
Christianity itself is based off of him rising from the dead. That is it. If they would ever find a body or anything, that entire religion is shot. And then Jewish people just refuse to believe that Jesus was away, and that's why not everybody is Christian. It should have just slid into that, and they were just like, no, we don't believe he was the Messiah. So as much digging as I've done into other religions to figure out the history part of it, not the Bible part, not the biblical writings, but the historical figures that they can actually account for, most of it's true, but what's been taken away is all the freedom of choice and the spreading of knowledge, because that's what it was supposed to be about back then. It's like the awakening of the human race.
Right.
And it just got shut down due to control. Christians were still persecuted. I mean, gosh, they were persecuted for like 200 or 300 years. And, the Muhammad, who started Islam, actually had a place. Yeah. His town was the only place that held pagans, Christians, and his people, which weren't labeled yet, there and could live together in peace, because it was a message of peace. It was like, we need to stop trying to live apart and live together and like accept that people are good at different things. So the pagan people were good at the farming and the raising of stuff and the healers and the herbs, and that's just what they did. They didn't know another way. So when he died, and of course the religion was left between his closest follower or his kin, that's when it split to the Sunni and Shiites, and that's why there's been a war in the Middle East forever, sadly, all because they can't agree on the same idea. And it's the breaking off and the branching off. So every time somebody tries to control,
that's it.
You create more chaos.
That's it.
So I can't say that the religions formed from it, but the ideas, we all lived like that before, and then these other things got pressed upon us for control in the name of religion. That's the best way to put it. Is we all had this knowledge and the way of workings before, and then religion came in and started saying, take that out. Nope, this allows too much freedom. So if they take the freedoms away and they believe that you're scared for your life, you're going to do everything you have to do, like tithe. Is that what it's called? When you
tithe.
So they created laws like that, not laws, rules, whatever.
Yeah, it's almost like requirements. Yeah,
absolutely. Because if you don't give that, then you're frowned upon. See, this comes back to like being accepted in your group. You have each other's back. It's a religious army in a way, right? Because if it ever came down to it, would you kill for your belief system and stop somebody else from overtaking what you believe? That's originally what this was, is the beliefs were the reason for war, and the beliefs were held in the person in charge of that land. So they could change it whenever they wanted to. Hell, the only reason Christianity became a thing is because Constantine saw a damn star in the sky and was like, it looks like a cross, so I'm going to fight for the Christians instead of, I don't even know who he was fighting. I think he was fighting for Greek, Rome, something like that, the polytheistic. Versus the monotheist. And like, it was on a whim that he took his armies and decided he was going to fight for Christianity. Like, it could have been demolished. So I guess the whole thing that hurts my heart is that we're still trying to control what people think and their ideas. And like, that is what I don't agree with. That's why for me, witchcraft, I've been solitary, because I'll tell people whatever I do. I have no problem with what I do. It's when they start going, ooh, no, you gotta call the corners and make a circle, and then you got to make an exit door so you can get back out of that circle, because there's some kind of voodoo around your candles. Like, what? It's just energy, people. It's just energy. Like, if you believe that spirit evil thing is there, you're going to manifest it. That's the power of the belief side of it. So Maggie, if you want to educate yourself a little bit more on the sciencey side of it, look up Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes.
Oh my God. Because his stuff is so in line with like the spiritual elevation, using our mind first and just really getting us there. I absolutely love him. If you haven't subscribed to Gaia, if you can get a free trial, and that's not how they pronounce it, Gaia. They pronounce it Gaia.
Yeah. The little channel.
Do a free trial with them and look at they have all these documentaries. They have all these shows. There's so much knowledge within that. I think I spent a month searching and going through things of people who have written about it, who openly give information out. I mean, I can't do free meetup forever. I'm building courses online to teach witchcraft. Like, after COVID, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going back to regular work. I'm gonna do what I want. But to give the knowledge away free first and like continue to do this all the time, that's what I really believe I think the universe will take care of me. I'm like, I'm not too worried about, because I'm not trying to. One of the first girls I ever got on my meetup, she lives an hour north of me. She said she was getting ready to pay a lady $1,000 to do a 2-week course with her. And I was like, what? That's outrageous. It's like, what? People do that? You claim to be like a good witch person and you're like, that's just not good karma for me. I don't know. So it's things like that where people also get sucked into bad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it can happen with people who claim to be witches. I mean, Salem is a different place and the witches there are very different and they're cutthroat. There's 2 witches. There's a man and there's the really old lady, Laura Cabot, which everybody knows because she's the one that brought stuff back to Salem. And these 2 go after each other. They go after each other's shops. They send in people to be devious in their stores. And I was like, what are you guys?
What is going? Yeah.
Oh gosh. And she's like 90. I don't know. She's very old, and he's this young kid and not that young, like 40, like me. I still think I'm a young kid. He's like a younger person acting in such an ill manner. I was like, it's hard to see people use what I call myself and be that. Like, I don't know if you've ever felt that way where
yes,
even when you were with the church and you saw people that did things that weren't aligned with the values you thought you were upholding, that becomes hard, which that's what led to me being solitary. Because I've tried to be friends with people who are also practicing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do things like sleep with married men or something. I'm like, yeah, see, I don't think that's good. I'm like, I wouldn't do it. So I had a good friend in Japan that just was a flake. I liked her a lot. She's very fun, but every night she left me because she had to like catch the last train home to sleep with some random stranger at a bar. It's like, this is not how we do this. This is not good energy. So you find it everywhere. So it's just choosing your people the best you can, those healthy boundaries and knowing when to stop.
See, that to me is so spiritual. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I rambled. I was going to say, sorry. I'm just like rambling. So
no,
go ahead. It's so spiritual.
Yeah. Well, I was in the inner sanctum of the church. So there was things I was questioning all the time. I mean, just really unethical, immoral. And I had to put my foot down and sort of like, I'm taking care of $1 million budget in this church and I'm watching money go where it shouldn't go,
mm-hmm.
And the moment I speak up, they're just like, who are you to be
questioning us?
And the moment I step out, they're like, well, you weren't called to this job. It's like, no, it's just, this is wrong. It's just wrong, So what I see actually in witchcraft, that to me, it's very moral. So when I see someone kind of acting kind of off, it's like, wait a minute, that's not even the core of what I think it is, so.
And it does come down to morals. I think a lot of people who want to practice, and you don't have to say witch, but just being spiritual, I really consider them very close. It's on, you could just be spiritual and not do spells and stuff, and you would still be, I would still associate, like, that's me. I just like to do spells. I like to try to help and manifest and do what I can. And this guy that's like crazy with my sister and delusional, maybe, I don't know, I'm going to do a spell for him to heal him. I'm not going to do something to like hurt him, keep him away. No. I'm going to be like, please, universe, send him the help he needs, because that's what he needs. He needs help. He needs to heal.
Yes.
Maybe get some psychological help. But when you've tuned into your energies, like the way that I think we can, being on that higher vibration of goodness, that's more your automatic thought. It's not, how can I mean, protection is definitely there, but it's not about hurting them or seeing them get caught up or lying to get them caught by police or something crazy. It's like, ooh, let's make sure he gets the help he needs and send him, somewhere better. Because
I love that. That's so good.
Well, I'm really glad that you were able to find your way out and then start exploring things that felt better to you, for sure.
Thank you.
My mom was raised Catholic, and she told us that she didn't like it in all the stories, but she never stopped us. My sister and I went to 10 different types of churches, because there's all these branches. Like the last one I remember was called the Church of the Nazarenes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we tried, and I was just wanting to go talk to people, and I wanted to find out questions. And some of the answers that I got, it was concerning. And that's why, eventually I'm like, yeah, this just isn't for me. I don't, I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. I just don't think that I need to go to a church to believe.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So, and luckily I found books. So I'm a huge nerd. I love the bookstore. And then the New Age, that's what they used to call it, right? The New Age books started coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Silver Ravenwolf, who's an author, she's been writing books for 30 years. I found one of her books one time and I was like, oh my God, I'm a witch. I can't believe it. I didn't know. It's like, yes, to ride a silver broomstick. Yeah. I wish I still had it. I had one of her original covers. Oh my gosh. When I've always passed on books that I'm done with, so I'm always like, here you go, like learn from this, and just and then I always get stuff from Goodwill and then give it back. But to give the knowledge out is probably one of the best gifts that we can do during this time where it's all confusing and yet kind of accepted. If you go to like Home Goods, look at all the witchy stuff that's out there.
Oh, yes.
I had my husband had some friends over the other day, and I got this candle from Home Goods.
Wow.
His wife is not Mormon. What's another one that's like that?
Jehovah's Witness.
Jehovah's Witness. She's a Jehovah's Witness, and super nice lady though. She never like say anything bad or she never think me weird. But when they saw the candle, they were like, there's a lot of symbolism going on here. I was like, there is. That was all that was said. It was like a slight acknowledgement.
I love it.
But, they're not saying it's too much or questioning.
Yeah.
It's kind of like acknowledging like, Jamie might be a little interesting, a little more interesting than we thought she was. I don't know what they would call it, being into the New Age. Yeah.
New Age.
All the old terms, like so funny. Like, no, witches aren't New Age. We're spiritual. Thank you. we don't need to be in self-help. We can be part of the, personal development and stuff like that.
Yes, what's going on? I love it. Have you ever put out just like a book list of just your favorite books?
No.
Yeah, that would be awesome for you to
my mom wanted to start a book club on Meetup. I was like, oh, that'd be cute, like a witches book club for stuff that people are reading together. I was like,
that's awesome. Yeah.
I know. So as I've been doing this, I'm trying to build like a website and build resources and also record these, and like this would just be for us in the group, but record like myself talking to the camera, I guess by myself would be way less interesting, I think, but with information so that people can get the information anytime they want to. That's probably my biggest holdup now, is that I'm confined by time to do it live. Whereas if I recorded a bunch of stuff, then it was like people could pick on the playlist what they wanted to see or learn about and then go through it. Mm-hmm. It's probably more fun live, but I like being available for questions. That's my favorite part.
Have you thought about YouTube?
Yep. So I started a channel. I haven't done anything with it yet. Because, even getting on camera with people feels totally comfortable. Talking to a camera by myself is, I don't know, it's very odd still. So I'm getting there. Yeah, that's my goal. That's my hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah, every month at New Moon, I'm like, new goals for, getting myself out there. This is what I need to grow, growing confidence, growing, the ease of which I do it. Focus. Now this month is like, stay focused, Jamie. The summer's coming and you really want to be, off doing stuff, but focus. I've got my cat at my feet with she's like, pet me with her.
Oh, where's Abe? Abe's asleep over here on the couch. He's right behind me.
Sarah, I know you had somebody up there a minute ago.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, look at that long hair.
I know. Hello, Abby.
Oh. I got a little chunky monkey. You got the biggest white belly.
Oh my gosh.
She's so sweet though.
This is who?
That's Princess.
Princess.
She was, Yeah, somebody gave me a pregnant cat and I didn't think I was going to keep them. So I just gave them nicknames and then I kept them. So
Yeah, that's the best.
I was already calling her Princess because she was the only girl. It was 2 boys and a girl. And I was like, well, she's the princess. She's the little one, little girl.
Oh,
And she was the runt. I was so afraid that she would not make it because she was like teeny tiny little thing. But
oh no.
now she's the biggest one.
Happy and healthy.
Yeah, happy and healthy and loves the pets and cuddles.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you feed Princess wet food?
No, a lot of crunchy food. She's 7, so I worry about her sleep and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So crunchy. But I do treats like every couple days. I'll give her the greenies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the greenies, and then they have this other one, the greenies for hairball control, because she's made for Alaska. She has fur as thick as a bear. I mean, you can't see her skin.
Yeah.
And I know she has a hard time cleaning herself. It's like just the amount of hair. So she comes in every morning to my office so she can get brushed out.
Get brushed out.
In my trash can, I have like a ball of hair essentially stacked up that looks like she's in it. Yeah. She's so furry. Yeah.
Oh,
and then the other 2 are normal hair. They're like really thin hair. So when it gets cold in Florida, like it does, they're like, he won't go outside. He's like, oh no, it's too cold. And she's out there in the rain. She can't feel it. Just like same weather as always. Oh. Can't feel the rain, can't feel the cold. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, this was very lovely. I enjoyed our little private time. Sarah, I'm going to do something to help the universe send you a way to be able to talk to us. Something's going to come into your path that allows that. I've got to. Sarah is new still. I know she can't talk to us, but she's, recently joined and always has some good stuff to share. So we've missed her the last few meetings.
Awesome.
But I'm so glad to see your face. All right. Well, next week, I do not have a topic yet. Do you guys want to pick one out? Pressure,
There's
right?
so much.
But we have like a whole list of stuff that we just need to sit down, and we were going to do a schedule out so that everybody can see what's coming up so you can choose your meetings. So like if you have something else going on, it's like, oh, okay, I don't really need new moon. I did new moon. But yeah, holidays.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I haven't done anything on tarot. Do you ever work with tarot? Are you interested in tarot? I'm going to do tarot next week.
I almost leaped into tarot. It's just like,
it's the best.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. So
I love it.
My origin story is that I was 17 years old in my art class, and for no reason at all, my art teacher gave me a pack of tarot cards, and she's like, I think you'd be good at this. I'm like, what is it? And I was like, tarot cards? I was like, oh, what? And I'm in her class. She let me do readings, and these cards were not the Rider-Waite style with pictures and stuff. They were like, they all had different symbols of like mechanical stuff and then birds. So it was all these crazy pictures, and I've never seen another deck like it. But as I was doing readings, like all she basically had to tell me to do was like lay out 5 cards and tell them what you see. Sure, yeah. And I just went for it. And when I was right, I'm like, what? I definitely felt like I was just making up some stuff to be funny. And they were like, no, that definitely applied to me. And then there was one girl who, I don't know what it was. That's when I learned like you can feel people's energy. And I had to get this whole learning thing because I laid out her 5 cards and she's like, just looking at them. I said, you don't believe in this, do you? She's like, that doesn't matter. You still should read me. I was like, I'm not going to, because it doesn't matter what I say. This isn't
You're
for you.
You're going to negate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact that it was right, I'm like, okay, I need some books to tell me what I'm really about. Like, mom, who's my real parents? Because I didn't know we had this kind of gift in the family. So, and it just intensified from there as far as like reading energies and feeling people out. I had a friend. I had this friend, Denise. We're sitting outside at the lockers one day, and I told her, I was like, I feel like you have a really big dark spot in your stomach. I was like, I really don't know what that means. It feels weird to tell you, but like black smoke. She had ovarian cysts, and it was like, how could I know that? I was blown
Wow.
away. And then when I joined the Navy, there's like 5,000 million people I could touch and feel. And I was like, I just practiced, and everybody, most of the people, it's all women that I associated with, but I mean, they were just like, yeah, what do you see? Yeah, do this. And sometimes they'd bring me somebody, Jamie, look at her hand. Look, she has crazy lines. What does that mean? What is that? I'm like, okay, guys, don't tell everybody. We're alone.
I know. Come on.
Yeah. So that was how I got my start. But the tarot cards, and I love them. My deck right now, it's out in my garage. My deck right now is Kim Kranz. I don't know if you know her, but her artwork is absolutely beautiful.
Which deck is that?
It's the Wild Unknown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it has
it's all the animals and stuff. And animals are like my people more than people are my people. Animals are my people. And so when I saw the deck, I was like, oh man. And my mom got them for me as a surprise gift. And I was like, and they've been my only deck. So I have like several of the Waiter Right decks that just sit around, loan them to people. I'm like, here, you've never played with the tarot deck? Here, just try this out for a couple weeks. You give it back to me when you're ready. So, and I've had those decks like 20 years. I'm like, yeah, I don't mind. So,
I love it.
When cards find you that are like you, whew, yeah, it's definitely
that would be excellent for next week.
Tarot, I'm gonna do it totally.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I have
that's
work
so good.
I have no idea. It'll probably be a pretty long meeting then. Hour 15, hour 20. Yeah. I mean, right now we're almost going till 8 o'clock, but if you guys don't tell me to stop talking, I just
it's so good.
Yeah. All right. Well, tarot, perfect. Thank you for helping me pick that out.
No, I think it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. All right. Okay, well, at that, it is 7:45, and I will let you ladies go. Thank you so much for spending time with me.
You.
This fills my heart with joy, and I feel like I'm living my purpose when I do this. So thank you for coming. And Sarah, I will hear from you soon one day. All right. Have a good night.
Soon. Take
All
care.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.